imagine you're climbing up a fence of healing or a ladder of healing, okay? And you're pulling yourself up, right? And the mushrooms are there to just like push your butt up over the top. Like they're holding you from the bottom, but you're still doing all the work.
Today, Courtney speaks with Tracey Tee. Tracey Tee is a trailblazer in the momosphere, bringing the sacred use of plant medicine to mothers. After over a decade of connecting and entertaining moms through her nationally touring comedy show, The Pump and Dump Show, Tracey's mission exploded into a new paradigm of support and healing. In 2022, she launched Moms on Mushrooms, an innovative communal healing and microdosing course designed exclusively for mothers. Tracey's approach combines a reverence for the sacred feminine and indigenous wisdom and draws on her lifetime of learning about women's health and wellness. And since its launch, Moms on Mushrooms has been featured on publications including NPR, Good Morning America, Rolling Stone Magazine, and the London Times. Tracey Tee has also appeared on Dr. Phil, and as an invited speaker at MAP's Psychedelic Science Conference. You're listening to Psilocybin Says. To support it, join the conversation in the YouTube comments, subscribe on YouTube and podcasts, and stay connected on Instagram and TikTok. And now please welcome Tracey Tee.
Hey, Tracey, it's great to have you here. Welcome to Psilocybin Says.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here.
Yes, me too. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Two moms.
Happy to be here. It's a
with
big
the mushroom,
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been looking forward to this conversation for some time now. I actually came across an article where you were featured, I think in psychedelics.com or something like that, where basically you're sharing about psychedelic parenting. And I just so appreciated your insights on that, particularly around how working with psychedelics can help us play with our children. So I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm just really looking forward to hearing more about your story and you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell our listenership more about you, how you got into the psychedelic world.
Great, thank you. I always say like my origin story is kind of a long tale, but I am a late bloomer in the psychedelic space, and no one is more surprised that she's here than me talking on this podcast. I didn't come to working with magic mushrooms specifically until my mid-40s and never really did anything before that. I'm from Colorado, so I've had my fair share of cannabis. It's not really my jam, although actually through working with entheogenic medicines, I've realized that, can we pause just 1 second? Did you hear that? Sure. Did you hear my, oh, you didn't? Okay, good. Sorry, there was a notification. I'm usually shut those off.
It's all good.
So through working with entheogenic medicines, I've actually come to appreciate cannabis like consciously, and have worked with that in a ceremony space. And I absolutely started drinking at a young age and drank all through college, my 20s and my 30s and most of my 40s. And then COVID happened. And I actually come to this particular business by way of a live comedy show. That was my career for nearly 10 years. I started a live comedy show with my best friend since the 8th grade and business partner called The Pump and Dump, which was a comedy show about parenting. And we toured the country and built a very successful, amazing business. And it was really about bringing moms together around the things we've had in common. So I've been in the momosphere since I had my own daughter, who's now 13 years old. And we had actually just passed the torch onto 2 other casts in 2019, one out of Chicago, one out of LA, to start touring regionally. We were days away from signing an off-Broadway contract with 2 Tony Award-winning producers in New York that we were going to be headlining and then start a new cast out of New York. And then the lockdowns happened, and within 2 weeks, we basically watched a business that we had grown from absolutely nothing fall through our fingers like sand. And we ended up having to cancel almost 100 shows for 2020. And then in 2021, it was pivot, like everybody else, and just couldn't get back on our feet. And by the end of 2021, we decided the stars are not any longer aligned for the Pump and Dump show. And we just kind of threw in the towel. But as anyone who owns their own business knows, it is very much a family member. It definitely becomes a part of you in every sense of the word. And the grief of losing a company, especially when you didn't do anything wrong, there was nothing we could do about it except sit idly by and watch it disappear. The grief was palpable. And fortunately for me, it launched me into a deeper level of my own sort of spiritual journey that I had been on for many years prior to that. And in that journey, I was just sort of given permission to work with plant medicine. Now, I forget this part of my life because I talk about psychedelics so much now, but I'm very much a green witch. I have been working with herbs and essential oils and plants for as long as I can remember. I love plants. So I've always studied psychedelics. Ayahuasca made so much sense to me way back before it became so trendy, but I always thought, how am I ever supposed to do that? Like, I'm a mom. Like, there's no way I'm just going to go to the Amazon rainforest for 3 months and, study with a shaman. So I just sort of put it on the back burner as something that I wasn't allowed to do. And then this wide space of this, of the lockdowns opened up, and I just finally answered the call. And the call honestly came from that same best friend of mine saying, you know what, in 2020, we're going to go on a camping trip with a bunch of other ladies at this lake, and you're going to put on your big girl pants and you're going to try mushroom. And I was like, okay.
It's my kind of lady squad.
I know,
right
it was the best night ever. And when I was driving up to it, I remember thinking to myself, if there's something here, if this night is how I feel like it's going to go, there is something here. And again, this is after I remember I went and like saw Paul Stamets by myself when he came to Denver to speak. And again, I was just like, well, this sounds great, but I'm never going to do it. And so this moment was really pivotal for me. And of course it was, everything did happen. My heart grew 4 sizes that night. I confirmed my connection with God. I saw a grid of protection over the earth. I felt love like I'd never felt before, but always knew that I understood. And I was a changed woman. And that really led me to look into microdosing, because on top of all of the grief and the businessy stuff, I have had a lifetime of very serious reproductive health issues. I had stage 4 endometriosis that was diagnosed when I was in my 20s, which led through a series of massive surgeries, an emergency C-section, and then eventually a full hysterectomy when I was 41, which plummeted me into surgical menopause at a really young age. And I was put on, by my functional medicine doctor, I think very wisely, put on Wellbutrin before my surgery to carry me into this massive transition that no one prepared me for at all, except for her. And I was very grateful for the Wellbutrin, but I knew that it wasn't a sustainable solution. And I also was kind of like, who am I without it? Now that all my hormones are gone, now that I'm this completely different physical person, I don't know what I feel like without it. And I don't know that I want to find out, right? I mean, it was a big deal. Yeah. And so microdosing made perfect sense to me theoretically. And no one was really talking about it. But I ended up trying it. And my life, when I started with small doses, my life just went like that. And everything around my spirituality, around the question marks, around the things that I was struggling with that I didn't love about myself, but couldn't figure out how to break through and fix, all just started to fall away gently. And I just really felt myself becoming the best version of myself. And then from there, I, looked into large dose journeys, which is its own like portal to get there. And it was really in that large macro dose where, like many people, I was sort of shown a lot of things about my life. And it became very clear that this medicine is here at this time. I believe, for mothers specifically, to bring us together and to bring us the healing that we're so desperately seeking. And for me, having brought mothers together around laughter and comedy, which I'm so grateful for, but, you know, in a bar setting involving alcohol, that was kind of like the old way. And it just became so clear that the new way was to come together and actually start talking about things, to reform what it means to be in a community, and to actually clear this stuff out instead of just remunerating about it over and over again in our same paradigm and toxic ways. And from there, after I was integrating, I was in meditation one day, and Moms on Mushrooms, MOM, just sort of landed in my head. And I sat up and I was like, well, that's genius. Like, certainly someone thought of it, you know, who am I? And, you know, ran to the computer, it was available. And I was just, honestly, I remember I was just like, okay, all right, God, if that's what you want, I guess I'll do it. And here we are.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's so many things I want to respond to from what you just said. First off, you're never too old and it's never too late.
Right.
My husband, Eric, got my parents potentially the most unique Christmas present this past year. He got them an LSD trip that he's going to hold space for them while they LSD for the first time. And I found this perfect card in this local women-owned shop in Louisville, Kentucky, where we live, that says, you're never too old and it's never too late. And inside it was his letter with the invitation to hold space while they have their first LSD trip.
And they were into it? Like,
they were. I wasn't sure. I was like, Eric, I don't know. Like, I just feel like they may be a little weirded out by that. He's dropped hints before. I mean, we do have a mushroom church and did mushroom retreats in Jamaica for so long. So it's not like the weirdest gift ever from us, but they were really touched. They said, we're going to do it. They got all excited. They're like, let's do it.
And so wonderful. It's never too late. It's never too late.
No.
And we get so many moms coming to Moms on Mushrooms in kind of their third act. And it's so inspiring to just be like, here I am in my 60s, 70s, even 80s, and I'm still willing to change my mind. It's so beautiful.
It is. Yeah. And in Jamaica, you know, I was really surprised by that. When we started the retreat center there in 2013, Myco Meditations, which we no longer own, we passed on to our former partners. But I thought when we started that, you know, we're just going to have a bunch of people that are just like hippies. They're just going to want to come and just like go crazy and eat mushrooms in the tropics. And I was beside myself. The people that were signing up were in their 50s and 60s, almost, you know, like 90% of the people who had never had a psychedelic experience before in their entire life, oftentimes never smoked cannabis at all, and were just intentionally ready for a shift, a change in perspective, a spiritual experience. So you're so right. And I love that you touched on comedy and psychedelics. Oh my gosh. Can we please talk about this more?
I mean, that show hasn't been written yet, but I know that there's probably one brewing, but it's certainly this journey is freaking hilarious. And anyone who takes themselves so seriously that they can't laugh at what we're all doing is missing the point. And also, it's not supposed to be so dark and serious. I mean, as we heal, of course, I've gone through 1,000 ego deaths and many dark nights of the soul and many months on the floor with my face down in prayer, weeping. All of those things are true. I've also had the best belly laughs of my life. I've also allowed myself to just laugh at myself, which is so liberating. And it's funny. It's funny stuff.
It is. It's hilarious. Look at us just, you know, bopping around, trying to figure stuff out. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so funny. I mean, the majority of my mushroom experiences now, they really didn't used to be this way. When I first started out practicing with the mushroom in 2012. But yeah, now it is so liberating to just laugh.
Yeah.
We take ourselves so seriously so much. And yes, like it can be serious. And there's a lot of, intentional decisions to make every day. But yeah, to just laugh and with community. Like, I love that you bring up community as well. So I'd love for you to talk more about that, what your experience has been like in community with the mushroom.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think everyone who feels called to this medicine and kind of like crosses over that bridge to create a relationship with any entheogen, right? Like, but for me specifically, magic mushrooms are absolutely like my master plant teacher. You come to know certain things to be true for you. And I really think for me, I believe deeply that this medicine should not be taken in a vacuum. It's not meant to be a solitary pursuit. It is meant to bring us together, and everything about it, starting with the mycelial web, begs us to connect. That is the whole point. And so I think we do the medicine a real disservice to assume that this healing journey in conjunction with the medicine should be done in this solitary space. Not only do you grow more by sharing your experiences with other people, because you're opening up a level of vulnerability that we have cut off for generations now, especially in the West. We don't talk vulnerably about things we don't understand, things that might scare us, things that we experience that bring us awe and wonder, but maybe we need answers. We don't really default to that kind of conversation. So allowing yourself to do that, like with the medicine at the center, just gives you a whole nother level of understanding, of integration, and of healing. And then listening, which is something we also aren't great at doing in the West, listening to other people's experiences gives you a broader understanding, a contextual understanding of your own by hearing what other people are going through. And I just think that is what they want. I'd even go so far as to dissent from the greats who, of course, were all men, back in the day. But I don't agree with Terence McKenna that you should just close yourself in a dark room and take 9 grams and go on this hero's journey alone. I think you should go in a room and there should be someone holding space for you. I think if it's a woman, it should be an elder. If you're going through this, find the elders, find our original elders, and have someone who can navigate the landscapes with you, hold space for you, and give you love, and so that you can receive it while your mind is in your consciousness is being expanded. So community is everything. And I don't think that this medicine needs to default to the way of scientism. I know that we understand that there's a lot going on in the brain, and I'm all for longitudinal studies and understanding that for sure. But I also believe that we can believe each other, and that anecdotal science or anecdotal experiences have value. And the medicine doesn't make you want to lie. Like that, those things kind of are kicked out or exaggerate. If you're truly communing with this medicine, you want to tell the truth of like what's going on with you. And if you are in community with people, you want to believe them. And I think there's a lot of lessons there.
Yeah, absolutely. Albert Hoffman, he had his, the founder of LSD, had his first LSD experience totally experientially. No science to back it. I think after he told his friends about that, they were probably pretty into trying it out for themselves.
Yeah, I want some of that on your bike.
But yes, I love what you're saying, and which is one reason I've been really looking forward to this interview is your approach to community building, and seeing how you're doing that just in what I've seen on your website and in your social media, your emphasis on bringing moms together and continuing to open up a forum for them for conversation, and your different levels of accessibility. I really appreciate. I know you have like different entry levels to different programs, and one of which is very accessible, I feel like, for women to just get some basic information about like just very foundational stuff about practicing with the mushroom, as there's so many questions out there right now.
There's so many questions, and also we have to unlearn the allopathic method of medicine and what it means to heal. We also have a lot of programming around being told what to do. We are, to get a little astrological about it, we are leaving the age of Aquarius, which is linear lines, structure, formation. Those things have brought us to where we are, have created technology, have created systems and societies, and there's a lot of value there. But what is lost is a less linear path of curiosity, compassion, questioning, and also we fell into this obsession with a hierarchy, that there's someone at the top that has to tell everyone else what to do. And you see this in every system. You see it in education, you see it in science, you see it in politics, you see it in religion. And what I'm trying to do, and it's actually proving to be surprisingly difficult, is release the guru mentality altogether and empower moms with information, because information is good. You need to learn about what you're doing. And this isn't passive medicine, okay? This isn't something that we take from a bottle. And the passivity actually comes from the hierarchy, right? We're so used to going into a doctor's office and being told, just take this, A will equal B if you take this pill at the same time every day and everyone else is doing it, and these are the known results. But also C, D, E, and F might also happen, and you're just going to have to deal with it and don't question it and don't ask why you feel like crap. And inside that, there's no malleability. And there's no empowerment, because you don't even know what's in your medicine. You don't know those language, you don't know those chemicals, and you don't really have any context. But psilocybin is actually surprisingly easy to understand its foundations. The chemical makeup is pretty straightforward. And it does take some unlearning to say, all right, before I just throw this down the hatch, I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to create a relationship with it. I'm going to understand what's happening. And what I'm finding is that people really still just want to be told what to do. And Mom, we're just like, you can do it yourself. Here's some guidelines, here's some structures. And do you remember this? Do you remember this intuition that's here, that's in your womb? Do you remember that amazing thing that we call gut instinct and mother instinct? Do you remember that? You can tap into that and you will know. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. How long do we have? Because I feel like this has been so much of my journey over the last, since I've been in the world of psychedelics, is that like trying to like feeling so strongly, while I am so grateful for the research, that's out there so that it can better empower us and remind us of the safety of these sacred plants and fungi. I'm so grateful. I really am. And also at the same time, there is this big reason why I feel like people like you and me are here, and our community is here to help remind each other, like with each other in conversation, and learning how to be authentic in what we're feeling and expressing again, then, we can just kind of figure it out together.
You really can. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And a beautiful thing, and it's a shock to a lot of systems is, and we can get into this, which is why I really think like the modern Western woman, the modern Western mother, actually, I believe, and people disagree with me, but this is my personal belief, is that starting with microdosing is the way, because you're creating that relationship. And what the beautiful thing about taking small doses consistently over time does is you start to feel it in your body in a way that you can manage and that you can understand. And when you start, and mushrooms are so amazing with opening up the channels in your body so that you feel it for the first time. This is why I believe a lot of mothers, when they start microdosing, are so debilitatingly tired. It's because your heart and your gut are finally talking to your brain. They're all listening to each other. And you know what they're saying? You're exhausted and you need to lay down and take a nap. Like, you haven't done it in 10 years and you're freaking tired. And we are really good at ignoring those messages from our body. We shut it off after it gets past our throats, you know? And when we start to feel the medicine in our body, we will know what to do. You will, your body will tell you, but that is a massive unlearning.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I used to be anti-microdosing. I used to be. I've come around, but you know, because I started off deep dive all the way, full moon, new moon, deep dive, and it was hard for me. Okay, so I feel like I'm the type of person, it sounds like maybe you are too, where you see a crowd of people running this way and you're like, I'm going to go that way.
100%.
So when I saw people flocking to microdosing, my initial instinct was, trend. You know, and so I didn't speak highly of it for a while. But then I kept having conversations with people who were coming to Jamaica, and then coming to Sanctuary intentionally to practice with the mushroom. And they just kept saying, like, you know, I found the mushroom through microdosing, and I've experienced so much healing with it, and opening and connection. I've, like you're saying, I've been able to connect with myself for the first time in so long. So then I was like, okay, all right. Okay, Courtney, open up. Maybe there's something here. And then I started to learn more about it and feel like maybe, you know, this can be a intentional practice too. As well.
And it's, you know, it's like all things, it's not for everyone. Like all things, I do think it can be misused. And I think there's a lot of expectation put on it now. One thing I work really hard to do is like tell you that this is not a magic pill. It's the best. I think my favorite analogy right now is that the mushrooms are, imagine you're climbing up a fence of healing or a ladder of healing. Okay. And you're pulling yourself up. Right. And the mushrooms are there to just like push your butt up over the top. Like they're holding you from the bottom, but you're still doing all the work. And I really believe, and I will go to the mattresses on this one. I think most people in our culture right now, if you're not like on a soul level, like already aligned with plants, and there's people, you know, like you that can just dive in and it's like, you just know, and that's a lot of people. But most people now who are feeling called to this medicine as sometimes a last resort, sometimes like your Hail Mary, like I've tried everything else and I'm going to do this because I keep hearing about it. If you go into ceremony, or God forbid you do it by yourself in your basement, and you swallow 3.5 grams of penis envy and don't know anything about what you're about to get into, it can be incredibly destabilizing. And that is where there is concern for mental health, regardless if you have schizophrenia or bipolar or anything. You know, it can just really jack you up if you have an experience that you have no context for. And so I would much rather people build a slow and steady contextual relationship with the medicine, and then absolutely go do your large dose journey. They are profoundly important in every way. But our society is fast, all in, no questions, don't research, and not even a little bit, very passive. We just want things to be done for us. And that is not how this medicine works. So I think having that relationship, getting over fear, allowing yourself to deprogram, and taking some time to learn about a new way of healing, of feeling. I just think that's the way for the West. And I think, and it makes me, I say this because I'm as protective of the medicine as I am of mothers in my lane where I work. But, you know, you go in and you do a journey and it's scary or destabilizing or too much, it's overwhelming, any number of things that we've all experienced, and you don't have either someone there, you don't even know that integration is a thing, you don't have a good guide that's trustworthy, you don't have a community to talk to about it, you say that sucked and you blame the medicine. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. All such points of wisdom. The mushroom, these medicines used to be practiced exclusively in community where there was a frame of reference that was instilled from childhood. A lot of us have heard that in ayahuasca cultures, there's ayahuasca put on the mother's nipple, you know, and that was the baby's first taste. So yes, makes so much sense in the world, what you're saying. And on a podcast that I recorded with Michaela Carlin, the psychedelic mom, is her show. She touched on this. Yeah, me too. Talking about the gentleness, like not being her new edge, you know, like instead of like what you're saying, fast and hard, got to jump all the way in, do it. This new approach of, well, maybe I can be, you know, more soft with myself and gentle and just ease in. And maybe there's a lot of value there, which kind of feels like this feminine shift that we're experiencing.
It is. And we have to learn how to function in that gentleness. That's so amazing that you said that. I was literally driving back from school today, and I always have a word of the year for myself. And then last year I started kind of downloading a word like for my community and kind of like the collective, like how I'm seeing things, and it helps me frame how to show up for others. And the word is gentleness. That's my word for the community. My word is purge. So that's fun. I was in the shower. I was in the shower and it just like showed up as like a billboard in my brain. And I was like, come on. Like, why can't I have like expansion, abundance? But anyway, I'm purge. But the other word is gentleness. And I think there is so much learning inside gentleness. And microdosing is absolutely gentle.
Yeah, definitely. My word of the year is embrace. Just had this conversation with the women in our community. Yeah, I had a virtual vision board circle last week. It was my first virtual vision boarding circle, which was very interesting and fun.
Was it?
I would highly recommend it.
Okay. I was trying to figure out how to do something like that. I love
Yeah, we did a collective vision board. So I pulled up, I've done in-person vision boarding workshops, like a handful of them before, and they're awesome. But we have all these women across the country that whenever we have an in-person vision board circle, they're like, oh man, I want to do it, you know, but they're not in Kentucky, so they can't. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out for y'all. So I thought, well, I'll just pull up Canva and I'll screen share. And we'll go around. I do authentic relating activities in almost every one of my circles to help us practice communicating what's here with us now. So we did that and some meditation. And then I asked everyone to pick their word for the year. And based on that word, I just searched pictures on Canva. It was really fun.
I bet. I was like, I love this.
It was really playful. And that was part of my intention with it, you know, just with the vision boarding, you know, let's be sincere, but we don't have to be so serious. Like, let's just laugh and have fun with each other. Someone's word of the year was wings. Like, you know, freedom, wings. And I typed in wings to Canva and a bunch of chicken wings came up.
Oh my God.
We had the hardest time finding like wings.
Like the wings that you're imagining.
So that was fun. It was fun. It turned out great. It was a really nice looking vision board. It's a collective vision board at the end. So we had a group vision board, which was cool. I've never done that before.
This is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing. I love this.
Yeah, it was easy.
Did anyone have purge? And I wonder what Canva would have brought up. I'm glad I wasn't there to ruin it.
That would have been great.
A little dark. Yeah.
Purging can be, it can be really, really great. Really cathartic.
Yeah, and it's coming in hot.
Really important.
And I will, I shared it with one of my teachers, Laura Dawn, and she was like, well, I'm going to read it too, because she just wrote it. I mean, she just said, purge is a solid prayer. It's a phase you just can't skip. And it's amazing how I when I read it first, I was like, girlfriend's been purging for many, many years. How much more purging? But to do it intentionally, I'm kind of excited. And I think it actually, I like gentleness is the antithesis to it, because I do think purging doesn't have to be this dramatic, over the top, albeit disgusting type thing. I think purging can be very gentle. Purging can be a letting go and a cleaning out, and it can be expansive. It can be beautiful. We're at January 24th and I'm already learning the lesson. So I'm grateful.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. I mean, if we clean the house regularly, then we don't have to do as many big, vicious, deep cleans. So I kind of feel like that can be with purging too.
Totally.
Okay. So you're a mom. How old are your kids?
I have one daughter and she's 13.
Oh, okay. Okay. So do you talk with her? How do you talk with her about this practice?
Yeah. Very openly. When I sort of transitioned into the psychedelic space and I knew that this was going to be a thing, when you have an only child, the relationship is incredibly intimate, because there's no one to diffuse what's happening with the parents, right? You can't say, go play with your brother. There's no one there. And she just happens to be incredibly observant and we're close. And she was the why kid when she was like 3, why to everything. So I knew that there wasn't really any getting around. She was the one that figured out Santa Claus, like at a tragically early age. And I just couldn't lie to her because she just would keep asking why. I just knew that there was no getting around this conversation. Also, my family, we have a big family. We have Sunday dinners. There's wine on the tables. She's grown up around alcohol and she lives in Colorado. There's dispensaries on every street corner. So when my husband and I talked, we were just kind of like, all of this is in front of her. All of this is already in her sphere of awareness. Why would we hide this amazing thing that isn't being binged, that isn't being abused, and that is changing certainly my life and has thrust me into this new career? Like, why would we hide that from her? So, we took it slow. And I've had to, the minute she could start reading and we would pass cannabis shops or billboards, I had to explain cannabis to her. So we just kind of took that approach. Like, this is a medicine. It can be great for healing. It's not for kids, and I showed her everything. This is what dried mushrooms look like. These are my capsules. See this chocolate? See these words? This is the word. And we just kind of keep the conversation up. And she's been, and I've been very open about, when mom goes and does a journey. I think one of my proudest moments, we were driving to school and I had done a journey maybe like the week prior or something. And she said, I know you may not want to talk about it because it sounds like it might be private, but if you ever want to tell me what happened in your journey, I'd love to hear. And I was like, are you an integration coach?
That's a yes.
I know. And I just was like, okay. And for me also, having grown up, in the Reagan era and on the war on drugs, it's really important for me personally to just take that fear away. And it's amazing how, even though she's grown up in a family that's been pretty open about most things, we don't put our head in the sand with her. She just, it's like in her DNA to be scared of certain things. And it only takes like one comment from one person, somewhere that's like, don't do that, it's bad, or you could die. And like, that's what sticks, no matter how many times mom has been on TV talking about this, how many women she sees that are so grateful that this medicine has helped them. It's that message. And so keeping that going, keeping that conversation going is almost like an effort to just monitor her own pre-programmed fear and bias and not throw it down her throat like you have to love mushrooms, but just say like, this is something that you shouldn't be scared of. And I want you to be safe about it. And then God willing, when she starts going to parties and stuff, she's going to be empowered to understand all the drugs. She's going to understand alcohol. She's going to hear my stories, my tales. She's going to understand cannabis. She's going to know what to do and how to protect herself and how to make empowered choices. And also, I have to say, she's 13. Like, the last thing she's probably ever going to do is magic mushrooms because her mom loves it so much. Because anyone who's a parent knows that if, your kids do the opposite of what you do. So for anyone who's like wants to keep kids off psychedelics, just start doing psychedelics.
Yeah. And they'll be like, yeah, no.
They're like, ew, no, that's lame.
No,
yeah,
thanks.
Mom does it too. Yeah.
My mom's a psychedelic mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been really curious how our kids, so Eric has 2 kids prior to us being together. They're 14 and 21. And then we have 2 together that are 6 and almost 3 years old. So, and our kids that we've had together have been, they just they hear us talk about mushrooms. They've been hearing us talk about mushrooms since they were born.
Yeah.
It's funny. Theo, our 6-year-old, sometimes he'll be playing in his room, like by himself, and I'll walk by and he's like doing some imaginative thing with his Legos, and he's like pretending. He's like, yeah, where do you want to go to mushroom church with me? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And that's just kind of his frame of reference. But I've been curious as they grow into teenagers, how that will be for them with their friends. And if they'll get any I don't know, pushback or I don't know. I'm really curious about that.
It is curious. She's gotten a couple things, and mushrooms are trendy right now, and having girls there's like girls that are really into the cute mushrooms on their clothes and stuff. So it's kind of like out there anyway. It's in pop culture, as we know. So that's interesting. So like when I take my daughter and like her girlfriend shopping, and if there's like a mushroom sweatshirt, they're like, oh, look, and they show me. So they associate it, but I don't think they really have the broad context. But my daughter's told me a couple times, like they were talking, I don't know, someone had a mushroom sticker or something. And someone else was like, mushrooms will kill you. And Evie was like, no, they won't, and was very clear. And so I was like, okay, she's hearing something to know that, like, at least defend that it's not bad. And I'm seeing trends, I've got nieces and nephews that are in high school and college, and I'm not at the parties with them. And I know that there's a lot of concern for substance abuse with adolescents in general. There has been, and that's just a rite of passage. But I'm seeing, at least with the kids in my family, a little bit more mature approach to all of it than even we did when I was in high school. Yeah. I just think kids are a little smarter right now. I think that comes with good parenting. I think it comes with more open conversations, less like abstinence on all things, and just be like, let's talk about it. And I just don't think I think these kids are born wise, and they don't really want to get effed up like other generations did. So it'll be an interesting observation for sure. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, kids now, I think there's enough alcoholism in the world where they've seen enough examples of their drunk uncle or parents or parents' friends. And so seeing that and having that, like, ooh, I don't want to do that. But when my mom comes back from a journey and she's like playing with me and relaxed, I like that. I like that look. Yeah. And I think, and that's one thing that my husband and I really talked about, because we've definitely seen that too, is, talking to the teenagers that we know that are just, absolutely. Like, I don't want that, because I've seen what that does. Like, drunk doesn't look fun to me at all, because I've seen the adults in my life that I respect or love, not modeling anything that I want to experience. And so that's something that we feel very strongly about too, just in general, is just not being inebriated in any way from anything around her, because there is a point when children, they know the energetic shifts of parents, and they know when you're not the mom that feels safe. And that can be with cannabis, that can be with alcohol, that can be with mushrooms, can be with your phone. And being really cognizant of that, and just maintaining a level of consistency, showing up for your kids even when you don't, even when you want to let loose or you feel like they don't, they're not going to notice, they do notice.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's, I think, a responsibility on our generation to model for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like your husband has been along on the ride with you since 2020. And like, does he practice as well with?
He does not as passionately as I do. But he has a healthy appreciation. He is open. He, and he is fully supportive. And he's just seen the change in me. And I think to be, perfectly transparent, there's probably some days where he's like, is she going to a place where she's not going to come back, in terms of this woman I thought I knew? We've been married for 22 years. We spent a lot of time together. And I think I actually am really grateful that I have like a really strong, long marriage to show others that you can change and you can hold space. And it's just a real testament to the both of us that as we grow older, as our daughter gets older, as we change, like we're allowing ourselves to evolve and change together and navigate that together and learn together. And this medicine has brought up a lot of big changes in our personal life and our relationships with other people, that I think we are more open to talking about from a vulnerable space than we would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, it's in any relationship where one person is on this path and experiencing a lot of new things and making shifts. It says a lot about the both of you that it seems like you're bringing him up in these conversations intentionally, the intentional conversations with your daughter. And it's really beautiful for me to hear that and for you all to be modeling that.
Thank you.
Really nice. Yeah.
It's also, I think, important, I'm certain you feel this and see it daily. There's a drumbeat happening in the earth right now that women are hearing very loudly. And there is this call. There's a shift happening. We all know this to be true. And some of us feel that drumbeat and are like, take me to it. I'm all in. Some of us are like, why am I hearing that? Something is changing. I also want to change. I don't know where to start. And some of us are like, I hear the drumbeat and I'm not ready. And when you start to shift who you are, when you really start to change your mind and answer that drumbeat or that call, there is a default mode of sort of either superiority and sort of evangelism that can happen where you're like, well, then everyone has to think like me. Everyone has to change at the pace I am changing. Everyone needs to do this. And I think it's a real testament to the path and the medicine of keeping your ego in check and not expecting, I went through a phase where it's like, okay, my husband's he's not reading all the same books I am. Some of it he reads, he doesn't always want to talk about whatever weird thing I'm like into in the moment. He doesn't really care about my love for holy basil, but he certainly drinks the tea, and I have to allow that. Like, he's on his own path and it's not up to me to just like hammer it in, because that's the old way too. That's that hierarchy. Like, you have to do it my way because this is what I believe now. And that's going back to that gentleness and that softening of just allowing and saying, I'm going to hold space for the real people that I'm in love, that I'm in alignment with. Because sometimes people fall away and because they're not truly in alignment, but saying like, I love this man and he loves me and he supports me, but he doesn't have to be like me, and it doesn't mean our marriage is bad. It doesn't mean I'm a hypocrite. It doesn't mean he's dumb. It just means we're different humans, which we always were. And we're on this journey together.
Yeah. I think I needed to hear that today. When passionate people like ourselves, I certainly go through waves of passion and creativity and energetic like floods of, wow, I need to create and I need to like be on this path of doing this thing. I have this vision now and it's happening. And allowing those, our loved ones in our life to just integrate that is really important and feels really good when we allow that to happen and just flow.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom. There's so much wisdom and grace in the people that really love you, that are like, hell yes, go. This might not be for me right now.
Yeah.
And that both and holding that and feeling, receiving that, like knowing that someone has got my back, but just doesn't feel called to psychedelics. That is love. Like that is love. Now there's the other side where like, I love you and I'm judging you. That's not love,
yeah.
you know?
Right.
And I've experienced both, but to just say, go, 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 go. And I'm going to be here. And there's so much wisdom in quietness. And I am a manifesting generator, triple Aries, Enneagram 8. Like I wake up every day and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, and that's not my husband. Thank God. Oh my gosh, we'd burn the place down if he was like matching me, you know?
Yeah. My son, 6-year-old son's a triple Aries as well.
I'm sorry.
Hey, we made an agreement somewhere along the line, so I'm in it to win it with him.
Oh,
he's
wow.
great. I love that kid. So could you talk a little bit more about your microdosing practice, like how that shows up for you in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's always changing. I think for me, number one is intention. This month has been really potent. And I actually haven't been microdosing that much at all. I've actually really been sitting with cacao. I'm in the middle of a cacao facilitator course. That's another just plant teacher that I just adore. And I finally just found a course that just allowed me to go deeper. So I've really been sitting with that medicine. I also think cacao and mushrooms go so beautifully together. And I like to drink my mushrooms.
Okay.
It slows me down. It is a kind of like soft way of integrating the medicine. There's something that feels very harsh with just swallowing down capsules that doesn't, like I could swallow a capsule of 150 milligrams and I probably wouldn't feel it. But if I drank it, it like infuses in my body. That's me. And so I have to always check myself, like, is today a day where the medicine is calling? Okay, the medicine is calling. Why? Okay, well, I'm writing. I am working through something. I am overwhelmed and stressed. I'm bored. And really checking what the right reason is and then taking a microdose. And I'll almost sometimes, like, kind of as someone who's creating a community, I'll do it the opposite. Like I'll just microdose without thinking just to check and see like how it feels in my body, almost like a personal study. And it never lands. So I really just listen to my body and listen to my heart. And I try not to be an Aries about it. And, ask myself why, and then why again, and then why one more time. And if it's loud and clear, then I'll microdose. So everyone always wants to know like how much I take. And I would say I microdose between 0 and 5 times a week. There's many weeks that go by where I just don't have it at all. And there's some weeks where I'm like, okay, I want a protocol. I'm ready. I want to do 5 straight days. I'm ready to go in. I have the space to practice with it or sit with it. And lately, I've just been, especially like working with cacao more intentionally. I was in the car a couple days ago and I just felt the mushrooms show up and I didn't take any mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've kind of turned this corner where I'm just like, I mean, you're always with the medicine, right? If this is your path, but like, I was like, oh, that just got activated and there was nothing there. So, but I think you have to allow yourself the space to let that happen. And, so I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It kind of goes back to what we touched on earlier with wanting to encourage those in our lives and our community to listen to what feels like right for them. And I can definitely relate to just wanting somebody to tell me what to do. Like, I'm
Me too.
tired. I just want to tell me what to do. I don't want to get in touch with myself right now.
Right.
But that's the guidance. That's the true guidance right there. And I love your answer so much. And I've certainly experienced in our community, like we have a subtle sacrament program. So it's up to 0.99 of a dose is like the entry level. Communion is like our terminology. And it's interesting to navigate these conversations with our community members who get really frustrated and want to know, just give me a schedule and I'll just do the schedule. And while I totally get that, like if you have no frame of reference for like how to proceed, then yes, like having some kind of frame of reference is so important. And like with the encouragement to like, here's your frame of reference, like, up to 3 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever protocol you want to look at for guidance. And also like, if you're feeling like, it just does not feel right today, then listen to that. That's like, that's the learning. Like that's the growth is in that communication of talking with yourself, talking with the mushroom. Like, is this a fit today? No.
And it answers, like your body answers, it answers. And, and that's exactly why we have 3.5 month containers. I do think it's an investment. It's an investment in your time and your attention and the way that you communicate. And again, I just keep coming back to like the unlearning and trusting yourself. But that, if you've never done that before, of course, like you're saying, like you're not going to know what to do. And we have a mom protocol because everyone's same thing. Like, why, how? I'm like, okay, start 2 days a week. Do you feel this? Go this way. Do you feel this? Go this way. Fine.
Yeah.
I get it. But more importantly, like hop into a group, whether it's mom or you, or I don't care who it is, but do it intentionally and give yourself some time to see the evolution. Even if that means like, I love the idea of like communion, like a first integration, like do it. It comes down to intention and knowing your why. And I think we put so many things in our body and we don't even look at it. And the women who I find sometimes are struggling with their microdosing practice, I'll ask like, when's the last time you looked at it in your hand before you took it? Have you ever said thank you? Like, have you ever given it a prayer of gratitude? What's a prayer? I mean, we don't even know really how to pray anymore. We are so infused with shame and this idea that everything we do is wrong if we're not following the rules, that we are paralyzed in our own embodiment. And so a prayer doesn't have to follow this certain thing. And you don't have to say these things. You just have to be honest and grateful. That's it. And those are learned practices that we're coming as a society. I think we're coming back around to the idea of ceremony. And, I was gonna bring that up with our kids. Like we aren't, and as a culture, we're not raised around any idea of ceremony. Even our churches, it's not actual ceremony. It's hierarchical performance. Why isn't church outside under trees? Like, come on. Like where is the back and forth? Where is the group and participation? It's one thing to repeat back prayers or scriptures. It's another thing to have it be in a true circle. We've lost all of that. So of course you're going to want to know what to do with the medicine. Yeah. We have this amazing opportunity right now. Like, as you mentioned, the drum is beating and we're feeling the call now to revisit, like, what is spirituality to us? What is church? What is community?
what is sacred? Like what are all these things? Let's get back to what we originally meant with all these terms and practices. And it's such a beautiful opportunity to be able to redefine these things.
And it's scary. I mean, I see this with my own mother, who's like questioning, is like feeling her witch come online, but has, just deeply believes in Jesus and the Bible, is one of the most intelligent women I've ever met. And the crunchiness of her allowing both to exist, the crunchiness of her allowing her gifts to finally show themselves and to sit in her gifts on a daily basis, while she's also looking to the Bible for wisdom and for answers. Like, you can do both, but it's that shedding of this idea that you have to be told what to do, and she's struggling with trusting herself. And we've been told for generations, for centuries, that we're the last person that we can trust. Yeah. And so naturally, microdosing, and this is the shadow side, right? You and I both see it all the time. And spirituality, it can become very performative. I always cringe when I see like microdosing challenge and do it this way, and I'm just like, no, it's not. It's the yang. It's that male masculine energy that has served us very well and still can in this medicine, but I believe it's the wrong approach. It's certainly the wrong approach for me. And we're still caught up in this linear idea that we have to just like shove protocols down people's throats, that we have to tell people how it is. And then the shame that even comes inside spirituality and the different modalities and the different beliefs. And, I'm from this culture and you're from this, and you can't do this and you can do this and you're appropriating and you're not, and all these things. I mean, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in there. And then there's a lot of just butting heads. And when all we really need to do is just be quiet and listen, Listen.
Listen. Yeah. We are relearning or learning in a new way, maybe, how to listen and recognize that we are each other. And by like really feeling that deeply, knowing that, you look different than me, you sound different than me, you believe different things than me, like, yet somehow we are connected and we need each other. Yeah. And when we can do that, which easier said than done, but we can just, like you're saying, like, be still. All right. Just hear someone out, hear where they're coming from, and like see the value in their perspective. And like try and communicate like how we feel about that in a way where like we're in this together. We're in this together. I have feelings. You have feelings.
And some of that involves saying you're sorry. Some of that involves saying you were wrong. Some of that involves telling someone else that they were wrong, or that's not acceptable. I mean, there's so much give and take. But yeah, I mean, curiosity, kindness, and compassion are kind of my three, like, if you have that, you can work through anything, you can get through anything, and you can learn anything. But curiosity comes first. And that absolutely comes by saying, tell me why I need to do this 30-day challenge. Tell me why this protocol is the only way to do it. Tell me why I should do a large dose before I microdose, or tell me why I should microdose before I do a large dose. And then the person on the other end of that conversation saying, I trust you to make the right decision, and your decision has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, right.
Nothing to do with me whatsoever.
Like, whatever you end up with, cool. Yeah, cool. It's like what you said. You mentioned like, I don't care if somebody goes to you for their practice or comes to Moms on Mushrooms or whatever. Like that in itself could be a whole topic of a podcast, with where we're at in the resurgence of psychedelics right now. Is so fascinating to me and hilarious that there's so much like battling going on in the world of psychedelics. It's like when I am with the mushroom, when I'm in the mushroom space, I laugh hysterically at it because it's all what we need to go through. But it's kind of like what you mentioned earlier, it's like the antithesis of the lesson, like the deep lessons that we're all connected, like in the psychedelic space. But I love this approach of collaboration and encouraging like collaboration within different organizations, and encouraging people that come to us like, what feels good for you? Like encouraging that conversation with like, it's truly okay. Like if this isn't a fit, here's someone else that may be a fit for you. Yay.
Yeah.
Like
why would
options.
you want, like, why would I want to force someone to join mom? Like it sounds awful.
Yeah. Ew.
and also I think that I have no problem having a level of expectation of the people I collaborate with. I have no problem having my own values and things I care about and holding others to those values. In for me, it's inside the space of safety and love, and a deep prayer that any one person finds her path. But that doesn't mean everyone gets to study psychedelics. That doesn't mean like they're inside that. I think there are guidelines and parameters and boundaries that need to be set. And
absolutely.
And only I will know what's right for me, and only you will know what's right for you or what's important to you. But those things are important too. It's not a free for all, and that just goes back to the American and we're seeing it, and we laugh about it. It's out there. I think the medicine will sweep it away, but there is like this mentality, like, does one journey becomes a shaman? And it's concerning. It's like really concerning.
Yeah. Which is a big part of, it's all wrapped up in this conversation that we're having about empowerment and listening to your intuition. And like all the times that someone's come to me and said, like, I want to go on a journey. Like I want to try ayahuasca, or I want to try San Pedro or toad medicine or whatever it is. Like, how do I know who to go to? And like my simple suggestion to people is to reach out and have a conversation and listen to yourself. If you're feeling like a feeling of pressure or a feeling of like something that just feels like a drawing back or a drawing away, like listen to that. And it's not a fit. It's okay. Like there's other options that will feel good.
Totally. And also like we're just finishing up this beautiful like kind of overview of taking a large dose journey to start that empowerment. But you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know the questions to ask a guide or someone who's serving medicine, it's very different than seeing a psychologist. There is some effort that needs to be made before you can go have this life-changing experience. And if I've learned anything, again, as like, and I'll also add recovering type A onto my triple Aries manifesting generator Enneagram 8. If there's anything that I've learned, it's to take my time, like slow and steady. Like, again, ask why again, ask why one more time, and then wait to make sure it feels good in your body. Yeah. We are in no rush. And I tell this to people all the time, like, you've made it this far without it. Things may not be great in your world. And I get that you're feeling like this could be the thing, but like, you're here. You made it this far. Like, you don't need this tomorrow. You don't need to do Bufo tomorrow. You can wait. And in the waiting comes some wisdom when you learn to seek it. And the journey's already starting at that point.
Yep. Yeah. So much of it is in the intention and the sitting. Yeah. The mushroom trip begins way before you eat the mushroom. Way before. Like galactic.
Way before.
Yeah.
Way before. Yeah.
So long ago. So far in the future. Like it's already, you're there. We're there.
And that's so cool. Like what a gift to be able to live on this planet with that knowledge. I say a lot of times, like when you realize there's magic and you understand what magic is, life becomes so much more fun. Everything is delightful, look at the numbers and match them up. Look at the signs that you're given every day. It's freaking amazing. And the medicine unlocks that part of us that is our oversoul, that is out there seeing everything in dimensions that, you know, you and I can't tap into in this like conscious state. To even just get a glimpse of it on a walk on a Monday afternoon is everything. You know, it's so good. It's so fun.
It's a freaking miracle that like every single moment. Yeah, it can be very easy to, you know, even in the midst of like for me and you and psychedelic community and having these psychedelic conversations all the time. Like even for me, I'm just like, I can get caught up in like oh, my life is so boring, you know, moments like, oh, what am I doing? And then I remember like, oh, MG, I'm a psychedelic leader. Like, I am facilitating. I have the honor, and I am so grateful to be here alive. Oh my gosh. Like I get this opportunity to just see and hear and taste and just feel my skin. Like there's just so many crazy, awesome things.
So many. And, you know, and the beauty of microdosing is when you hit up to those, you know, those edges of like this 3D life. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I can't, just the monotony of this world that we're being asked to live in, that it is changing, but still how many arguments have I had in ceremony where I'm like, this is great, but I have to go to the grocery store tomorrow. And like, I don't want to do it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Is that I can take a microdose on those days when I'm feeling particularly punchy or pithy or bored. And I can ask in deep reverence, say like, remind me again why this is such a gift. And just 50 milligrams with a good practice, you know, can bring me back. And that's amazing.
It really is. Yeah. Like I can just think of how a mushroom smells. And I'm like, here I am.
I know.
Okay.
And that's the crazy thing really too. Sensitive. Yeah, about journeys. Anastasia, who's our head of facilitation and like kind of heads up our education. It's amazing. We talk about this, like how, you know, a lot of people fear that you're going to forget a journey or you're going to forget. And any good teacher will tell you in that moment, like, you're not going to forget it. Yeah. You can't forget it. It's so hard to trust that you won't. But there's moments where I'm just driving down the street to said grocery store and a flash of something from a past ceremony will just come flooding into my mind. Not only the remembrance of it, but the message sometimes years later. And I'll just be like, it just happened to me the other day. I was driving. I was like, oh, got it. Years later. And that's insane. So, I mean, you're just always in it once you invite it in. And it isn't this dangerous, drugged out, checked out, bypassing, numbed out experience. It is actually completely the opposite. It is like my heart just cracks open day after day at the wonder of it all, and the ability to talk to God. And, you know, for me, I'm just very programmed. I'm like, thank you. Okay, what can I do now? I mean, it's the opposite of anything that we've been told, and then it's the opposite of any permission we've been given. And then to just say yes to it all is the most fun ever. It's the best.
Yeah, it's the best. I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. It's really nice to be reminded of that, which the mushroom does such a great job of that. I'm trying to remember the term that my friend used the other day. So the weekend before last, I did a deep dive with some of my best friends who are moms, and another close friend who's not a mom, but I've had so many amazing life experiences with her and mushroom experiences. And so she was the person there that was holding space, just like not communing, making sure like we had water, like reassuring us, like, you're good. Really great to have. And yeah, my friend put it, she's a massage therapist and a personal trainer, and she used this term, which I'm blanking on now, but basically how when we go into strength training, like it's an exercise that helps us, it burns, like it's intense. We're tearing down muscle to rebuild it and make it stronger. And she's like, that's what mushrooms are. It's like that same thing. Like I'm allowing myself to just like purge and let go of like whatever the energy that's not serving me anymore. And be open to new perspectives, building
muscles
on that. So it's not necessarily easy, I would say, to have these amazing communions with the mushroom, but it sure is rewarding.
Amen, sister.
And it can be fun. It's okay to have fun too.
It's okay to have fun too.
Yeah, that can happen, and that can be great. You don't have to stop yourself if you're having a good time.
Nothing is more curative than laughing and laughing with your girlfriends. There's nothing better.
Oh, so good. Good. So, well, could you tell us a little bit more about your programs with Mom, like what y'all are opening up for the community?
Yeah, thank you. So we have this 3.5-month course. It's kind of our foundational course of getting started microdosing, creatively called Course 1, because no matter how many shrooms I take and how many downloads I get, I cannot change the name to that course to something interesting. Whatever.
Number 1.
So it's course number 1. And that's really, we only do 10 women or less inside a cohort. And it's really that safe container for you to create that relationship with the medicine and create your own intentional practice. While you've got someone there to hold you, you can learn, and you're learning with other mothers. And I really think that the shared experience of being women, of being mothers, and microdosing, it just cuts through some additional barriers. So there's a level of understanding. We're going to be starting courses for mothers who are 65 plus. So because that's its own shared experience on top of it. So we're going to be having like a Golden Girls cohort coming up.
Cool.
And we run cohorts. It's evolving a little bit, but at least 3 times a year. So there's always opportunity to hop into a course. We've got 2 kind of evergreen courses. I imagine this audience doesn't really need it, but we have, again, like a microdosing 101 for moms. It's just the how, the why, the what the hell is this, through the lens of being a mother. Because I do think working with this medicine is a completely different experience and a different intention when you're doing it while you're raising tiny humans. So, and then we have the same thing for a macrodose course, macrodosing and large dose journeys as well, that really goes deep. We have interviews with just real moms, not influencers or psychedelic leaders, just moms who've done journeys. And this is what happens, so that you get, again, that context, and you can just say, oh, I'm like her. Maybe, like it just takes the temperature down on the fear barometer. And then we have the Grow, which is like Facebook for moms on shrooms. It's our private community membership. It's off social media. There's no algorithms. There's no advertisements. There's no gurus. It's $2.22 a month. So I really that's like our service to the world. And we invite all mothers, whether you're an experienced psychonaut, like we need your voices and guidance to help support women, or you're terrified, but you were curious, like come into the Grow and you can get questions answered. It's got tons of resources inside of it on top of just the feed. And it's a beautiful growing place. And I'm calling in 1 million moms, because I feel like when 1 million moms stand behind this medicine, it will be legal. Yes. And there will be no war, like, period.
Yes.
So for 2024, we're calling in 10,000 mothers to be like the first gatekeepers of this space in the Grow, and to show that we are standing en masse behind this medicine together. And the conversations that happen there are fantastic. So that's what we offer. It's all on momsonmushrooms.com.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to reflect back to you how I'm truly grateful for the work that you're doing. Truly, truly grateful. Eric and I back in 2015 were arrested for underground ceremony and ended up with felonies and Thankfully we didn't have kids together yet, but he had his older kids. And I mean, that was the worst experience of my life.
I can't even imagine.
I grew up very straight edge. I was a competitive ice skater, and I was very focused on doing anything that could help me grow as a person, be a better person. And that was my practice with mushrooms at the time. And I was just baffled. How is this happening to me? How is this happening? This is so healthy for me. This is so healthy for the people we're working with. And now we're on house arrest. This is twisted. Come on.
Gosh.
So, and as with most really hard experiences in life, I look back and I'm like, okay, that was a good thing. I'm glad that happened for all kinds of reasons. It led us to where we are now. But such a big part of where we are now with the church and being able to call upon the First Amendment right that we have to practice with our spiritual practice authentically, sincerely, is being able to prove that it's safe and that we're not harming ourselves, we're not harming others in this practice. And so doing the work that you are doing and building this community and educating our people of the world, it cannot be underestimated. Doing what you have done, gone on Dr. Phil, I saw that, I can't even imagine.
It was absolutely the biggest trip of my life. That was the most psychedelic thing I've ever done. Going on Dr. Phil.
I bet. Thank you for taking that trip. But it's so there's the spectrum of it. It's fun and it's a trip and it's so freaking awesome. And I'm just so grateful. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing up in this work and doing it. I know there's all kinds of challenges along the way. So just thank you for persistent and working through that with your vision.
Well, it's an honor. And, I'll reflect back. If you hadn't taken the brave step and gotten arrested in 2015, I would never be here. So I am acutely aware of the women, the thousands, hundreds of thousands of women who have worked with this medicine long before I ever took a camping trip in Boulder, Colorado. And I would not be here without you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, this has been such a good conversation. I'm really looking forward to all our listeners hearing it. And maybe we can talk again, catch up in the future.
100%. Awesome. I would love that.
Me too. Thank you, Tracey.